Krikorian, and this is Shaping Our Story, where we talk with exemplary leaders to reveal their success. Today we're speaking with a woman whose face covers the front of the PBS TV station in Tampa, Florida, where she is associate producer and co-host of the WEDU Arts Plus TV series. She started writing for a local newspaper, but quickly became an Emmy Award-winning multimedia journalist. She is executive producer and host of the Zest Podcast from WUSF Public Media and NPR Network. She is a former James Beard Awards judge. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times Magazine, Los Angeles Times, and Gravy, the Journal of the Southern Foodways Alliance. But I'd like to point out that while she is a success in her profession, she also has a loving husband. His name is Braulio, a 26-year-old stepdaughter, a 13-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old son, and a 1-year-old puppy. I look forward to spending time with you and Dalia Colon. She has taught me a thing or two about cooking through her first and recent book, the Florida Vegetarian Cookbook, which won the Florida Book Awards Gold Medal for cooking. Welcome, Dalia Colon. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes. Well, you are so accomplished. I'm just amazed at everything that you do, and how you balance your work and your home life is amazing. I know that you have your 1-year-old little Ruby with you, with your dog.
Yes, my little fur baby.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see Ruby, maybe we won't, maybe we'll hear Ruby. It's all organic.
For sure.
So recently I watched a talk that you gave in Key West, and it was about Florida's food history, past, present, and future. And this is a project that you've been doing with the Florida Humanities on Florida Talks program, where you've been a freelance writer for their magazine. And you started that in the summer of 2024. So what I really picked up on in that talk, and I will include a link to that talk because it's a wonderful talk,
Thank you.
that you're working as a lead scholar with the Smithsonian.
I know it's kind of insane. It's funny how like one decision leads to another, to another, to another. So sort of my journalism background led me to producing the Zest podcast, which then led me to hosting when the host left, and that gave me a little more visibility. So I've been writing the Heritage Kitchen column, which is all about food, for Florida Humanities magazine called Forum for the past couple years. And then this is such a cool opportunity that came up. It's a collaboration between the Smithsonian, like the Smithsonian, Florida Humanities, and 7 historical societies around the state. And we're bringing food-related museum exhibitions to these towns, whether it's in their library, community centers, those places that everybody in the community has access to. And we're telling the story of the town through food. And I just love that so much. That's right in my wheelhouse because we all eat, and we have sort of the micro level of, what you ate for breakfast today, and then the macro level of what we as a community have been eating for decades, not only our food, but also our food ways, which is, not just what we eat, but like how we prepare it, why we make it that way, what the significance is. So this has been so much fun. I've learned a ton, and I'm excited for everybody to see these exhibitions. They should start rolling out in early 2026.
So where can they see them?
So they're actually all across the state. There's one in Hastings, there's one in Key West, there's one in, let's see, some of the places are escaping me now, like the Fort Pierce area. But if you go to the Florida Humanities website, there will be an interactive map, and you'll be able to see which sites are closest to you.
Okay, so it sounds like road trip.
Totally.
We'll bring Ruby with us.
Oh my gosh. Let's not say we did.
So you have a background in journalism, so I want to talk about that. But then you also have a master's degree in education.
I know, it
I
doesn't
mean,
add up. You have one too.
well, I do. I do. Well, the interesting thing that I found is one of the things, because we have a lot in common, well, one of the things that we have in common was that I got my graduate degree in Philadelphia, which is where
Small
I know,
world.
which is where your mom is from, right?
Yes, it sure is. Yeah, I have a lot
Yeah.
of family in Philadelphia. My grandfather, who's 102, still lives in
Oh my
Philadelphia.
gosh.
Yeah, but my mom was an elementary school teacher, so I've always loved learning. My dad worked at a community college. I love reading. I'm a word nerd. And I studied journalism and Spanish in college. And then I thought I might want to be a Spanish teacher. So I got my master's in Spanish education. I actually taught high school Spanish in Akron, Ohio for a year. And my mom, knowing what education is like and knowing what I'm like, said, Leah, you're not going to like it. This isn't for you. Of course, she was right. Always listen to your mother. That's the moral of the story. But yeah, so I have that degree and I use it on my own kids.
Yes.
But you know what I will say?
Mhm.
It when you're studying education, it's so much about psychology, just getting the kids to pay attention, getting their attention. I mean, you know this. So it does come in handy. It comes in handy when I'm interviewing people. You know, there's a concept in education called wait time where you ask the kids a question and then you just let that awkward silence ride out while you wait for them to answer. That's very useful in interviewing people. Just finding out what motivates people, if they're nervous, how to make them more relaxed. So it wasn't a waste of time. It just didn't play out the way I thought it would.
Right. So you were in Ohio,
Yep.
and that's where you got your degree, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ohio. I'm from
Okay.
Cleveland. I'm a
Okay.
Cleveland girl, mistake on the lake. I love Cleveland. And then I got my undergrad degree at Ohio University in Athens. I got my master's degree at Kent State University. And then a friend of mine from college, Autumn Sanders, had moved down to Tampa Bay to work at the then St. Petersburg Times, now Tampa Bay Times. And she told me about a job opening. And I thought, oh, when you're in Ohio, who doesn't want to move to Florida? I'll just stay for a year and, kind of go back to Ohio or see what happens next. But towards the end of that year, I met Braulio, who is now my husband.
Wow.
And that was in
Yeah.
2005 I moved here.
Wow. I moved here in 2003, and I only moved here for 2 years. That was my idea.
Sure.
Okay, this is 2026.
I know. I've been here for 20 years. I know. Louise, what are we doing?
I don't know. Yeah, I keep trying to go back to Philadelphia. So we'll see. But so it's interesting that you got your degree in journalism and then master's degree in education. When did you start your interest in writing? Because you wanted to be a journalist or you wanted to be a writer in some way? How did that happen?
I always wanted to be a journalist from the time I was little. I loved writing stories. In my bedroom in my childhood home, there are, books bound with like contact paper and those like brads.
Oh,
I always loved writing stories, and I love the creativity of nonfiction. I mean, I love to read fiction. I'm reading a novel right now, but I love sort of the boundaries of nonfiction and mining it for what's interesting or what we can learn from the truth. I think everybody's interesting. I really do. Like, I don't know, maybe it sounds conceited, but if I go to a party or something, you know how you want to sit at the good table with the fun people. And I tell myself any table I'm at is the fun table because I'm interested in everyone and everybody is here to have a good time. I just sort of go in with that expectation.
right. Well, I love the fact that you always, from what I see, you're always smiling.
Well,
So,
I don't know. I'm getting ready to yell at this puppy. She's eating some crayons right now.
so is that who we just saw?
It is. Ruby, come here. Ruby, what you doing? Come here, girl. I don't have any. You want this? She can have the peanut butter on my spoon. Ruby, look. What's this?
Ooh.
What's this? Let's see if we
Oh,
can
I don't
lure
know if
her,
Ruby wants to come
lure
off the
her over.
line. So
Oh,
you
her
decided
first,
to
this is
stay.
her first
Oh my
podcast.
goodness. Look
See, this is my first
at her.
podcast.
What kind of dog is
She's
she?
an Aussie Doodle, so Australian Shepherd with Poodle. All right, I'm gonna put her down.
And she's 1 year old.
1 year old, first and last podcast. Here, you can lick the spoon. She's licking the peanut butter off my spoon.
So talking about peanut butter, I'm just really curious about, so you were a journalist, you were working at the Tampa Bay Times, that's St. Petersburg here in Florida. And then somehow you start working on the Zest podcast, which brings you to food.
Yeah.
But so now you've got two jobs. You've already met your husband Braulio. How many children do you have at that point? Because I know you have three now. So
Correct.
Ariel is 26. She's your stepdaughter.
So she was already in the picture. She was in the picture before I was. And then Nora is 13 and Benji is 9.
So oh, I think I just saw Benji in the background.
Oh, probably. Yeah, no school today.
Is that okay with you if he's on?
Totally. It's
Okay,
fine.
good.
He's
We
kicking
need
my daughter's
permission.
volleyball around.
We need permission for a 9-year-old to be on this
That's
podcast.
true, we do.
So my curiosity is you already have a position at the Tampa Bay Times. You're working and you're writing for them. You're writing human interest stories. And then did you leave the paper to start working at WUSF, which is our radio station, National Public Radio for the University of South Florida, to work to produce the Zest podcast?
Not originally. So I was working at the paper. I can tell you the exact moment when I started with audio. I was working on the paper and I was writing a story about a woman named Tiffany White, who I'm still friends with. She was a teenager at the time, and she was a beatboxer. She was amazing. And I thought, man, I need people to hear this. I wish I could put some of her audio on the web, but I had no idea how to do that. So my mentor, Jeff Klinkenberg, the amazing writer Jeff Klinkenberg, who's now retired, he said, well, I know somebody at the radio station. So he introduced me, and I became what they call an informal intern. And so I didn't have to be at work until 10 a.m. because I was an entertainment reporter. So lots of like late nights in Ybor and that kind of thing. So from say 7 to 9 a.m., I would go to the radio station a couple days a week, then drive to the TV station. And my only goal was to be able to produce a web piece about this beatboxer because at the newspaper they had said, "Oh, we'll send someone with you. We'll send one of our audio guys." And I was like, "No, I want to be the audio guy. Like, I want to learn how to do this." So I ended up having a few stories on the air. Bobby O'Brien was amazing. She's now retired. I
Oh, I
know. Shout out to
love
Bobby
Bobby
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
Yeah, so she was very patient with me. She taught me audio production. And so I did that story, went back to working at the newspaper, kind of forgot about it. And then I don't know, it had to be at least a year later. I get a call. Dalia, you don't know me, but my name is Scott Finn, and I'm the news director
Oh
at
my
WUSF. I
gosh.
had never met him. He was not the news director when I was there, but he said, "Hey, we have an opening for a health reporter, and people have spoken highly of you. Do you want to interview?" And I was like, "Sure." Because at this point, it's 2010. Working for a newspaper was starting to feel like being on the Titanic and like a little bit of water is seeping in. Like, I got to get off this boat. And I love newspapers, but the writing was on the wall. So I took that job as a health reporter, learned a lot, learned some video production because that was another component of the job. And then from there, collaborated with WEDU. And then eventually, a few years later, it's always these seeds you plant that sort of start to sprout a few years later. I get a call from Robin Sussingham, who was then an anchor at WUSF. "Hey, we're applying for a grant to start a podcast. The topic is going to be food in Florida, and there are 2 slots. We can put down like executive producer and host, and then we can put down producer. Can I put your name down? Are you interested?" And at this point, I had no idea how to produce a podcast. I know how to produce a radio story, but podcasting is a little different animal.
Mhm.
And I loved to listen to podcasts. I still do. I love listening to audiobooks. And I didn't know if they would get the grant. So I'm like, sure, put my name down. I remember I was washing dishes when she called. I was like, sure, put my name down. They did not get the grant, but by that point, they were in love with the idea. Ruby was not in love with the idea. And she's barking at my son now.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't get the grant, but they decided to move forward with the podcast. And so that's when I came on board first as sort of behind the scenes producer, and then later as the host and executive producer.
Yeah, so in March of 2021, we started hearing your voice.
Wow, you know better than I do.
Well,
You're amazing.
you know, like I said, you and I are both, we both have our master's degree in education, and I think being in radio and TV and podcasting now, you tend to do your homework.
You and I are like sisters from another mister because we both are in podcasting, we've both been in education,
Right.
and we both work in TV.
And I think the first time that I actually saw you was around December of 2021 because you introduced my WEDU Arts Plus segment about the ceramic artist Kimberli Cummings.
Yes.
And then
Wow.
again in February of 2022, you introduced my WEDU Arts Plus segment about the pianist and singer-songwriter Kitty Daniels.
Yes. Oh, late great Kitty
I
Daniels.
know.
Amazing. So many names we're dropping here.
But
This
it's
is awesome.
yeah, but then I started following you, not stalking, but social media. I do remember hearing you on the Zest podcast. And then we worked briefly together at USF.
Mhm.
I'm still on their books as a professor. I did teach I did teach film at USF as well, but I was working with the library, and so I called you in to talk to Andy Hughes and I at the library about starting a podcast. So I
That was
really
so much
appreciate
fun.
it. Was
I love that conversation. God rest Andy's soul. Miss the late great Andy. I mean, we're so lucky. Look at
yeah,
all the people we've gotten to meet.
yeah.
Amazing. And you among them. I'm like
Well,
in awe.
well, and thank you. But yes, it was a blessing to work together with Andy. And then when I was following you again on social media, you said to me, because I was showing up everywhere you were appearing, you're like, you're everywhere. Well, I thought one of the funniest things that you ever did that I ever saw was when you performed at Tampa Bay's finest, well, one of our finest improv comedy stages, which is the Commodore. Unbelievable. And your talk was based on because everybody eats.
That was so much fun. Love the Commodore. If you just need a night out in Tampa
Yes,
Bay, you're looking for something different. It's different every single time because it's improv.
it
So
is.
that was a blast. We
Yeah.
love Justin and Kelly from the
Oh,
Commodore.
definitely. I follow them as well. And then I saw you at the talk that you did with the Splendid Tables host, Francis Lam.
Oh my gosh, this is great. You're just reminding me of like how much fun I'm having. I mean, who doesn't
Unbelievable.
love Francis? He's my buddy. I wish he lived closer. We would be buddies. Actually, I'm going to be in New York for spring break, and hopefully I'll get a chance to meet up with him. Yes, he's amazing. We did a recording for the Splendid Tables anniversary at the New Tampa Performing Arts Center, and it was myself,
Right.
um, Andrea
Yeah.
Gansmart Williams from the Columbia Restaurant, Anthony Gilbert from Call Anthony. You better be following him on social media. Oh my gosh,
Wonderful.
he's a blast. And do you know that he's running for mayor of Tampa? People are so amazing. People have no ceiling. I love it. And Megan Sorby from, I think it's called Redfish, something like that. So that was super fun.
That
Because
was.
you know what? Tampa gets a lot of, Florida man jokes, and we're the butt of a lot of jokes. But then just in the past few minutes that we've been talking, look at all the amazing names we've rattled off of people who are doing incredible things.
Yeah. And these are accessible people.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, Andrea, I say Andrea, you say Andrea.
I think it's Andrea.
I'll have to
Jeff
call her.
Hauk, if you're listening, let us know if this is right or not. I think it's Andrea,
So
but
Andrea Gonsmart
Ms.
Williams
Ms. Gansmart Williams.
is part of the Columbia restaurant family.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's an amazing institution here in Tampa.
Yeah.
And
Oldest restaurant in Florida.
yeah, definitely.
So cool. But you know what? To your point, people are accessible. And I learned that working on the podcast because sometimes you think, oh, it would be nice to have this person, but would they ever talk to me? Or, and you just have to go for it. You might have to like do a little bit of like lily pad jumping to get to the person that you want or the opportunity that you want, but you will get more yeses than you think. So we've been honored to have the Columbia restaurant, Burns Steakhouse, which is another Tampa institution. We've had Michelle Bernstein, who's a James Beard Award-winning chef. We've had Art Smith, who's a James Beard Award-winning chef and was Oprah's personal chef for many years. It just blows my mind. We've had Francis Lam as a guest on our podcast. We've had Carl Hyacin, the author. I mean, it's just incredible. So you know what? I would just encourage you listening or watching to go for it. Like, don't let yourself be talked out of something because you think it's like too big of a reach, because you just never know.
And so the seed that was planted for you to be a writer at a young age led you to writing for a newspaper and then writing for a podcast that had to do with food, which so we're talking about newspaper, we're talking about radio with WUSF. Now we're talking about TV with WEDU, which is our local PBS affiliate here in Tampa. And you're talking to Julia and Bridget from one of my favorite shows, America's Test Kitchen.
Yeah.
And then you're introducing them at the Palladium, which is an unbelievable another institution in St. Petersburg. And you're introducing them at the WEDU TV station to this small group of lucky people who we got to sit at a table and meet them.
Yes, that was so cool. I've gotten to know them over the past few years through working with WEDU, and they're so down to earth. They're so funny, hilarious. And again, they're people. You think of the people you see on TV or you hear on a podcast as like, I don't know, made out of something different. We're all made out of the same stuff. I love it when I'm at like Aldi or, a garage sale and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, I recognize you from WD." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just like you. Our kids go to the same school. We shop at the same stores."
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I mean, I remember just being in a local store and seeing someone that I saw on WEDU and I was feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm a fan of theirs. Oh, can I go up and talk to them? Like I was that way with you, whether you know it or not.
Well, that's how I feel about you. And absolutely, because without you, I wouldn't have a job. Without these people who are supporting our work, especially public media,
Mhm.
I would not get to do the things that I do. So it's a gift.
It is definitely a gift. And your gift is writing, but you also have a gift of speaking with people and making people feel really comfortable.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I absolutely love to hear that.
So, you were talking a little bit about psychology and talking to people. Would you agree that purpose is having a sense of responsibility and then acting with the intention of helping others?
Ooh, we're getting deep. Yes. How could I not agree with that? Say it again. Purpose is having a sense of responsibility
And
and
acting
acting
with
with
the
the intention to
intention
help
of helping
others.
others, right?
Yes. And I also believe that if you're really walking in your purpose, you're automatically helping others. Because I'll think of like, you know, a singer or a comedian or someone like that who on the surface may seem like, yeah, you're not really helping anybody, but you're inspiring somebody or you're helping them through a tough time. And so helping people doesn't always have to look like, serving at a soup kitchen, although that's great too.
So what would you say is your purpose?
Oh, wow. I think it's helping people tell their story because that's the through line of everything that I've done, helping people express themselves in a way that they didn't even think was possible. I love when someone that I've interviewed says, "You explained that better than I could."
Hmm.
I think
Mhm.
I'm getting a text. I don't know if you heard that. I thought I had to put.
No.
Okay, just making sure because I turned my phone off. Everything's on do not disturb. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it when someone says, "You explained that better than I could," or "You get me. I feel seen." And that's something that I do all the time, whether there's a microphone recording or not. If I'm sitting next to you on an airplane, we're going to have the same type of conversation that we would have on the podcast. No difference. A lot of times when I'm recording an interview, I feel like I'm at my parents' house in the dining room because my parents have always been like Renaissance people and had lots of interesting dinner guests and my dad's childhood friends he'll go pick them up if they don't drive and invite them over for a barbecue. And so you never know who's going to show up at the Wheat's house or at the on the Wheat's dining room table. And so I just kind of pretend like, "Oh, I'm at my parents' house. Like who's the guest star today?"
Yeah.
So until my last breath, I don't think that will ever change.
So, do you have an example of someone that you had that instance with,
Oh, on the
like,
podcast
or
or just
even like
anywhere?
even like at WEDU with Julia and Bridget, people who were very well known for their show on PBS, America's Test Kitchen. I mean, they must feel comfortable with you to continue.
Yeah, yeah, I think they do. And I'm also not afraid. What is she doing? Ruby. Oh my gosh, there's a mess back there. This is the shelf where we keep all the art supplies, and there's like
Oh.
crayons and paper. Oh my goodness gracious. Yes, what I love about people like Julia and Bridget or Francis Lam is that they have such an expertise when it comes to food. And so people might think of them as like highbrow, but they also love, Julia and Bridget told me they love it was pepperoni rolls. One of them, I forget, is from West Virginia, and she's like, "I love pepperoni rolls." And one says, "I love Pringles." And when Francis came to town, oh, this was such a treat. So I had spoken to him on the phone, and we were planning to do this event at the New Tampa Performing Arts Center on a Sunday. And before we hung up, he said, "Hey, I get to town on like Friday afternoon and I have no plans. Do you want to have dinner or get together?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes. Can I invite other people? Like, this is too good to keep to myself." So I invited a couple of other foodie friends, including Jeff Hauk of the Columbia Restaurant Group, Anthony Gilbert of Call Anthony, and my colleague Alexandria Ebron at the podcast, and just a couple other people. And we could have taken him to like Burns Steakhouse or Mise en Place, and that would have been great. But we were like, what if we just bring out the really like down to earth human side of him? So we met up at a corner store called A&J Corner Store in Anthony and Alex's neighborhood. We ate boiled peanuts. Jeff pulled up his truck and we set all the food in the bed of the truck. It was like fried chicken and red velvet cake and boiled peanuts. And we stood there among the chickens of Ybor City eating food out of the back of this pickup truck. And that's one of my favorite memories from 2025. And then Jeff organized a little tour for us and we made a few more stops. But like, I was proud of us for creating an environment where that could happen. Francis is going around, he lives in Brooklyn, so chickens are like a treat to see. So he's going around taking pictures of the chickens and talking about how great the food is. And I'm driving him around in my minivan, the same minivan that I drive my daughter to her, volleyball tournaments in with all her friends in the back. And so we just created we created an environment where everybody kind of let their hair down. Because I think if you're interviewing somebody like Francis Lam or Julia and Bridget, they're used to being on, they know how to act, but a lot of people are nervous being on camera or even just talking to another person in line at the grocery store. But if you relax, this is something I learned from my teaching degree. People reciprocate your behavior. So if you're relaxed, they will relax. If you open up, they will open up. So a lot of times as we're setting up the equipment, I'm just talking all about myself, my husband, my kids, my dog. And then by the time we're rolling, they're like, oh, she's a human just like me. Now they want to tell me about their self, their husband, their kids, their dog. So that's been really helpful. I
Yeah.
don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Um, it's interesting because your interest in telling a story is also making the person you're talking to very comfortable.
Thank you. I feel like if you're comfortable, you can do anything. I have worked with the Poynter Institute for Media Studies in St. Petersburg, and one of the courses that they had me teaching was like overcoming imposter syndrome, which seems impossible. It just feels like the tax we pay for whatever it is we want to achieve, you know? Like if you go to the gym, you're going to be sweaty and you don't try to not be sweaty. You're just like, that's just a byproduct of going to the gym. If I'm going to do something I've never done before, I'm going to feel a little bit insecure, and that's okay. But something that has helped me is to sort of downplay things, tell myself this is not a big deal. Don't buy a new outfit. Don't get your nails done. And I know that seems really counterintuitive, but sometimes when we do those things, it feels like we have on a costume and like we're performing. And now we have to have our lines memorized. But I'm comfortable speaking to people. I get nervous sometimes, but I'm comfortable because I tell myself this is just me sitting in my parents' dining room, you know? And so I try to bring that energy into what we're doing. I tell people, you're the expert because if you weren't the expert, why would I be talking? You know,
Right.
you're like Louise is asking me about Dalia. Well, lucky for me, I'm Dalia, so I'm the expert on Dalia.
That's true.
And so if I'm interviewing, say, an artist for Arts Plus, I say, you don't have to be nervous because I'm not asking you about all art. I'm asking you about your experience, and nobody knows more about that than you.
Right. So your challenge has been to make sure that you're relaxed so other people are relaxed too.
Yes. And I get nervous too. I'm human. But I tell myself, oh, I'm going to get to do something new today. I'm going to get to go on a field trip. I'm going to meet somebody that I am going to like. I assume that everybody will like me and I will like everybody.
That's a great way to
So
look
I
at
go in and I'm like, man, this guy's really important. Like I remember years ago interviewing Michael Francis when he was the new director of the Florida Orchestra, and he's British and he wears a tuxedo to work and he knows all about classical music. So I'm like, whoa, I'm way out of my element. But by the end, we were talking about his wife and his new baby and just, you know, the human stuff.
it. Yeah, he's marvelous. And at Christmas, we say Merry Christmas. He says Happy Christmas.
Love it.
So British. So, have you had anyone, you've mentioned a couple of people who have been your mentors. You mentioned Bobby O'Brien. I mean, at WUSF, to have Bobby O'Brien help you at the very beginning is amazing.
I know. I need to call her. We need to have lunch.
Yeah. And do you have anyone like your mom or your dad, anyone in your family, well, your husband, Braulio, who's helped to inspire you or coach you?
Everybody in my family is so supportive. And Braulio's a rock star in his own right. He could also be a guest on this podcast. But I think what's nice is that they sort of get out of the way and just let me be me. And I try to do the same for them and just let me do things in my own way. Um, so my family is always there for me. I mean, we have the world's longest group text. But yeah, people like Bobby O'Brien and Jeff Klinkenberg, Jeff Hauk is amazing and so supportive. And even the Reverend Vicky Walker from my church, she was actually the person who I met on an assignment for PBS. we weren't even there to talk about the church really, but I was just so like in awe of her. But I love how she mixes helping people with enjoying her life. I feel like she has that perfect combination, and I really admire that.
Yeah, I do too. What do you hope to do next?
Oh, I don't, I've never had a plan. I was watching this Netflix documentary about Eddie Murphy, and he said in his career, he's never been in a rowboat rowing in a certain direction. He has always been in a sailboat, just sort of going to whatever he sailed to next. And I kind of feel like that. Um, I don't know. I am getting ready to hopefully work on a project with the Sister Cities organization. We're waiting to see if the grant will come through. So that's all I'll say about that for now. But things have worked out just staying in the sailboat. So I'm just trying to stay in the boat.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time, your enthusiasm. I think you inspire so many of us who want to just, live in our purpose and, make sure that we pay attention to our passion and then we persevere.
Thank you so much, Louise. The feeling is mutual. This was such a treat.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.
Dalia Colon's success is proof that she combines her passion with perseverance. Thank you for spending time with us today. Come back and listen to hear more exemplary leaders share their success story on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or watch our videos on YouTube. Please subscribe, follow us, comment, share, and like us on Facebook at Shaping Our Story.